that want to talk about it and they're scared. But sweetheart, I'm not scared. I'm legendary in these streets. You know how many artists I've spoken to behind the scenes that are too afraid to speak up?
So you'll speak. We'll speak, y'all.
I'm gonna speak because y'all can't touch me. I am completely protected. I am protected by God. Y'all don't see that by now?
Rapper Nicki Minaj was the apparent target of a swatting call last night at around 7 p.m. The LA County Sheriff's Department received a call claiming an assault with a deadly weapon had occurred at the Grammy winners.
You got to be working with them. As far as I'm concerned, Rock Nation is run by a couple. You know what I'm saying? Why would people think the government don't run businesses?
Just last night, rapper Nicki Minaj was the target of another swatting call at her Hidden Hills residence. The LA County Sheriff's Department received a call claiming an assault with a deadly weapon had occurred at the Grammy winner's home. But this wasn't random. This was part of something way bigger than anyone imagined. Remember when Jay-Z said, "I think we've passed kneeling"? Did you catch the reaction of the woman sitting behind him? That uncomfortable shift, that knowing look? People have been asking why the government wouldn't run businesses, why they wouldn't have major rappers working as informants. Well, Nicki just dropped receipts that could bring down one of hip-hop's most powerful operations, and the evidence is absolutely mind-blowing. You guys, Nicki Minaj just dropped actual receipts accusing Roc Nation of running a federal setup operation targeting rappers, and she's naming names. Jay-Z and convicted criminal turned government informant Desiree Perez are at the center of this explosive revelation. But Nicki isn't just speculating anymore. She's linking Roc Nation to Tory Lanez's controversial sentence, 6ix9ine's snitch label, Casanova's RICO charges, and several other high-profile cases. What ties all of them together is one terrifying pattern: speaking out against Desiree Perez. The screenshot Nicki shared doesn't come from some anonymous source either. It's pulled directly from a lawsuit filed by Desiree Perez's own daughter, and what she's alleging about her mother will shock you to your core. This document specifically describes Desiree as a confidential informant for federal law enforcement.
Prevent me from leaving wrong.
The incident started on March 27th of last year.
So legally, I can't go home.
No.
Why?
Demore Adly says she was lured to that parking lot by someone posing as a potential client for the landscaping company she runs with her then boyfriend, now husband.
She said her mom didn't just play dirty. She went full-blown cartel with it. When she told Desiree she wasn't leaving her husband, that's when things...
Working to monitor and control artists through their legal troubles. Most artists have no clue what's happening behind the scenes. They don't know what they go through at the workplace. Nicki revealed how many women get strategically blackballed out of their positions when they're a little too strong, when they're a little too smart, and get told they're angry black women having a breakdown. But when Nicki started connecting the dots and speaking out, that's when the real attacks began. The swatting incidents, the targeting of her family.
No clue what is happening. Y'all don't know what the we go through at the workplace. You know how many women, I said this on Twitter, get strategically blackballed out of their positions when they're a little too strong, when they're a little too smart, and get told that they're angry black women and they're having a breakdown?
But just when you think the story couldn't get any crazier, Desiree's own daughter came out backing Nicki's claims. Demore Adly isn't just supporting the allegations, she's living proof of what happens when you cross Desiree Perez. According to court documents, this woman had her own flesh and blood locked in a mental institution for absolutely no medical reason.
I can't go home.
No, you cannot.
Why?
Because you're being Baker active.
Body camera video shows the moments Broward deputies encouraged Demore Adly to get into this pickup truck with people she says she didn't know.
I can't ride with you and you guys take me?
You're going to be in handcuffs, so dog's not going to be able to come?
No, I don't want to be handcuffed.
Okay.
Demore says they took her to a hospital for a mental health evaluation after this doctor signed paperwork saying she was a risk to herself.
What he told me was, we received a call from your family that you tried to OD the night before. She's the CEO of Roc Nation, a company that she owns along with Sean Carter, the famous rapper.
Desiree Perez, the woman Jay-Z handpicked to run his empire, allegedly used the most vile, racist language you can imagine when threatening her own daughter. The complaint alleges Desiree pulled her back and stated she would have her committed if she stayed with that person, using the most disgusting racial slur. Blood work, urine screens, hair follicle tests, everything came back clean. She had over 10 years of primary care visits proving she'd never done drugs or alcohol. Desiree Perez's criminal past and how it connects to everything happening today. Back in 1994, Desiree was arrested for possession of 35 kilos of cocaine and conspiracy with intent to distribute illegal substances. We're talking about a massive criminal operation stretching from New York to Florida to Puerto Rico. She wasn't acting alone either. Her husband, Juan O.G. Perez, was also involved. And Juan happens to be one of Jay-Z's closest friends. They go way back to the mid-90s when they started the 40/40 Club together. Jay would later appoint Juan as Roc Nation Sports president, and they're still close family friends to this day. Now here's where it gets really interesting. After being caught with all those kilos, what do you think happened to Desiree? She only received 5 years probation. Why? Because she flipped and became a federal informant. She even wore a wire to help the feds catch some of her former partners, adding that she'd had a long and wild history as a DEA cooperating witness. According to Nicki Minaj, both Desiree and Jay-Z are still government snitches, and Roc Nation isn't just a music label. She claims it's essentially a federal front designed to set up rappers and keep the entire rap scene under tight government surveillance. But what no one talks about is how he also went against Roc Nation and teamed up with Nicki to publicly call out Desiree Perez. He went live and exposed her background as a DEA cooperating witness, sharing public information about her criminal past that most people didn't know. But the targeting doesn't stop at legal troubles. Nicki's home was swatted multiple times starting in mid-2023. And according to her, this wasn't random harassment. It was all part of Roc Nation's sick campaign against her. The first swatting incident happened when someone called the cops claiming Nicki was doing something to her child. LAPD showed up, did a full investigation, and found nothing.
Officers arrived at Minaj's home around 6 p.m. to investigate a report that Nicki's 3-year-old son was being abused. After examining the toddler, officers determined he was safe and they left. But another call was made in the early morning hours, and around 3 a.m. Minaj and her family were awakened after a fire was reported at her home. Firefighters arrived and found no flames. Swatting is a term used by law enforcement officials used to describe an act of making a false report in order to get a response from police that can involve an armed SWAT.
But a few hours later, they got another call claiming there was a fire at the same address. Officers arrived around 6 p.m. to investigate a report that Nicki's 3-year-old son was being abused. After examining the toddler, officers determined he was safe and left. But another call was made in the early morning hours, and around 3 a.m., Nicki and her family were awakened after a fire was reported at her home.
Nicki Minaj was the apparent target of a swatting call last night at around 7 p.m. The LA County Sheriff's Department received a call claiming an assault with a deadly weapon had occurred at the Grammy winner's Hidden Hills residence. The caller claimed somebody had shot at a black female or had shot a black female adult, and 2 suspects wearing all black were still on the property. But when deputies arrived at Minaj's residence, there was no evidence of any crime.
This was clearly coordinated, repeated, and meant to intimidate Nicki during the exact same window when she was publicly calling out Roc Nation. The pattern becomes even more disturbing when you realize what Desiree is capable of doing to her own family. If she would have her own daughter forcibly committed to a mental institution over a racist objection to her marriage, what lengths would she go to silence someone like Nicki who's exposing their entire operation? Demery Hadley has been speaking out in interviews, comparing what Nicki went through to her own involuntary hospitalization. She's alleging that Desiree and Roc Nation are way more evil and dangerous than most people realize. After Nicki saw Demery's lawsuit and interviews, she responded on social media, confirming that Roc Nation really did target her husband and child. She revealed that people in high places are still trying to tear a husband away from his wife and family. The coordination of these attacks, the swatting, the targeting of family members, the legal pressures, and according to Nicki, this network extends far beyond just Roc Nation executives. What makes this story even more explosive is that Nicki claims to have a much longer list of names and evidence. She's threatened to expose judges, executives, media insiders, and other players in this alleged conspiracy. If she drops everything she has, we might be watching Roc Nation collapse in real time. The question isn't whether this goes deeper than we imagine. It's how deep does it really go? Demery has backed up Nicki's claims with legal documents, medical records, and first-hand testimony about her mother's willingness to destroy anyone who gets in her way. When someone with Desiree's criminal background and history as a federal informant has this much power in the music industry, it raises serious questions about who's really pulling the strings behind the scenes. Every artist artist who's faced sudden legal troubles after crossing Roc Nation, every mysterious case where evidence disappeared or witnesses changed their stories, then this isn't just about music industry drama. This is about government surveillance and control of an entire cultural movement, using criminal informants to manipulate and destroy the lives of young Black artists who step out of line. The implications are staggering when you consider how many careers have been destroyed, how many lives have been ruined, and how many artists have been silenced through this system. Think about all the rappers who suddenly faced legal troubles right when their careers were taking off, or right when they started speaking out about industry corruption. Think about all the cases where key evidence mysteriously disappeared or witnesses suddenly changed their testimonies. Think about all the artists who went from being outspoken critics to completely silent overnight. Now imagine if there's a systematic operation designed to make all of this happen, run by people with direct connections to federal law enforcement and unlimited resources to make problems disappear or create new ones.